missing always evokes emotions and raises questions. What has happened? What has led to this? And above all, why? Unfortunately, every day another family as well as friends must face this traumatic experience. Apart from enormous fear and questions about their loved ones' whereabouts, people find themselves confused. How is it even possible to vanish in thin air without a trace? While you can try to explain the disappearance of one person, it's more difficult when the case involves two people. Today we are going to present you with exactly this type of predicament. Two teenagers suddenly went missing in the middle of Zakopane, a place which was bustling with life. Had a place which they both loved so much become a deadly trap for them? Although the situation took place almost 32 years ago, we still don't know much more than at the time that it all started. Ernestyna Wieruszewska was born on the 14th of May 1975. She lived with her parents in Legionowo, a small town near Warsaw. She was their only child. In 1993, she was a student of a secondary school in Warsaw. She was 17 at the time. She had a slim build, blue eyes, height around 5'6", and ginger hair. She was an extremely warm and friendly person who loved to help others, a very calm and spiritual human being, also very religious. She attended a religious support group for youth called Ruch Światło Życie in her hometown. Her great passion was exploring Polish mountains. At school, she especially befriended her classmate, Anna Semczuk. Anna Semczuk was born on the 4th of February 1975. Blonde hair, green eyes, height approximately 5'4". She lived with her mum and stepdad in Warsaw. She was extremely intelligent and liked to play the piano. Both girls wore prescription glasses. They both loved mountains, and that was where they decided to spend a part of their school winter break of 1993. They decided to visit the Tatra Mountains in Poland. The 22nd of January 1993 was a Friday. After the last school day before a half-term break, both friends went straight to the train station. They took a train to Zakopane. It was a long journey. It took around 7 hours to get there. In Zakopane, they had to take a bus to Kościelisko-Pitoniówka, where they were about to stay for the next few days. The place they picked to stay was not a random one. Ernestyna was staying there a year before, whilst having a short trip together with friends who were a part of the same religious support group as her. Anna had never been there before. It was a big but austere guest house, rather than a very comfortable place to stay, but according to Ernestyna, that type of accommodation can help to fully absorb the raw atmosphere of life in the mountains. The girls' parents felt reassured that their children are going to stay in a safe place. The first 3 days of their trip were just as they had planned. They were spending all of their days hiking. It was quite exhausting, yet giving them enormous joy and pleasure. After exploring hiking trails, the girls were going back to rest at Kościelisko in their rented room. Both girls were very responsible. They were always well prepared for their hiking. They wore warm clothes and proper shoes. They always took food and warm drinks and explored only the designated tourist trails. They loved taking pictures of places they saw. One of the girls had a camera with her at all times. To share their great time with their parents, the teenagers had sent postcards home. Anna wrote, "I'm on my last feet, but God knows that this is what I dreamt of. In addition, everything is going according to our plan. I've got my shoes, the snow has fallen, we're in joyful moods. If something changes, I will let you know. Bye for now, I'm kissing your eyes, noses and chins. Yours, Annie." Ernestyna wrote, "I'm not just existing, I'm living my life. Our journey to the mountains was great and interesting. Details at home. We're happy. The snow has fallen, it's frosty, and we've been living our wintertime life in the mountains. Greetings from the mountains." Anna wrote in a diary. Thanks to this, it was possible to recreate the first 3 days of the girls' trip. Saturday, the 23rd of January, they climbed the Gubałówka mountain. Then they went back down to Zakopane via the funicular railway. They went back to the place of residence by bus through the Nędzówka area. Sunday, the 24th of January, they went to the Kire village and the Kościeliska Valley. They climbed Ślep. Due to the weather, they couldn't go to the Frosty Cave. They went back to Kościeliska Valley, visited Ornak Hut, and had a quick tour to Zimna Cave. Monday, the 25th of January, they took a trip from Zakopane to a small mountain hamlet located on the outskirts of Zakopane, called Kuźnice. They walked the blue touristic trail to Murowaniec Hut, followed by a walk to the Black Lake below Mountain Rysy. The girls went back to Murowaniec Hut, walking through the yellow trail. They took a bus back to Zakopane and then to their place in Kościelisko. Unfortunately, the weather conditions were still deteriorating. It was very windy, and due to that, hiking was too dangerous or even impossible. Tuesday, the 26th of January, started with bad weather again. It was snowing heavily, and the wind was very strong. The landlady, Mrs. Maria, saw both girls that morning. She warned them not to go to the mountains because it's too risky. They assured her that they had different plans. According to her testimony, Anna and Ernestyna woke up around 9 a.m. They paid her the outstanding rent and said that they were about to go to Zakopane train station to buy tickets, as they were planning to go back home the next day. The girls also mentioned that in Zakopane they are going to meet with some friends from Warsaw. Unfortunately, no names were mentioned. Maria didn't see the moment when the girls were leaving her guest house, as at that moment she was in the utility room. The bus to Zakopane departed at 9:20 a.m. We might start to doubt then if they had made it to the bus stop on time. On the 26th of January, Ernestyna wore a dark green winter coat, 3/4 length, a black and green scarf, and long black leather shoes. She also had a small black leather backpack with her. Anna wore a grey nylon winter coat. The whole day is passing by. Maria is starting to worry that the girls still have not come back. She's very stressed and decides to call her daughter to share her concern. Maria's daughter finds it alarming and calls Tatra Volunteer Search and Rescue Team to report that 2 tourists might need some help and their whereabouts are unknown. Parents of Anna and Ernestyna have no idea about anything yet. The night is passing by. Early morning, Maria goes to the girls' room to check if they have come back. She realizes that the room is empty. Immediately, she calls the police to report 2 girls as missing. She also knows she needs to inform the parents. Because of unknown reasons, she calls Anna's mum even though it was Ernestyna who stayed at hers before. Maybe she was too embarrassed she didn't look after her well enough. The parents of both the girls are in shock and disbelief. They decide to come to Kościelisko-Pitoniówka as soon as possible. They arrived to Kościelisko-Pitoniówka on Thursday the 28th of January, which was 2 days after the girls went missing. The parents noticed that the girls' belongings were packed in bags without care and left on the ground floor, and not in their room upstairs. The room itself was empty and very cold, like the heating was turned off a long time ago. That seems strange to them. Both girls left all of their stuff at the residence as if they were about to come back at any minute. They didn't take their warm clothes, their passports were there as well as their money. They didn't take their thermos or the camera, things they took always while going for trips. In one of the bags, there was also Anna's diary. The Wieruszewski and Semczuk families decided to go to the police station in Zakopane to report their daughters as missing. They believed a thorough search would start immediately. To their surprise, it didn't happen. They were told that the girls probably left of their own accord, and that these things happen especially during school half-terms. Police ignored the case at the beginning, which was shocking to the families. The parents couldn't believe this. They knew their children. They both were very responsible and mature young ladies. They had great relationships with each other. They were both quiet, good students with no reasons to just vanish, leaving their whole lives behind. They always informed where they were, at what time they were planning to come back. This situation was not like them at all. They simply couldn't disappear voluntarily. The parents knew they needed to act quickly on their own. They visited every single restaurant, hut, hotel and guest room in Zakopane, asking if anyone may have seen them. No result whatsoever. Ernestyna and Anna just vanished without a trace. The police started treating the case seriously after a few days had already passed. Officers went to Kościelisko Pitoniówka. They questioned the landlady as well as her son, Stanisław. After some time had already passed, the police found out that Stanisław had a dispute with Ernestyna. They were told this by members of the religious support group. This group attended the same residence a year prior alongside Ernestyna. Stanisław fancied Ernestyna. She rejected him. Allegedly, during the group's stay, an argument had arisen at the residence between Ernestyna and Stanisław. Could the events in the lead-up to the girl's disappearance have had an impact and are somehow connected? Was there some sort of confrontation during which an accident may have happened, or even a crime, and the girls didn't manage to leave the residence? This was thoroughly checked. No evidence was found at the scene. No blood was found or other trace evidence or fragments of clothing. The man also supposedly had a strong alibi for the day of their disappearance. Due to these circumstances, he was ruled out. Searches were conducted by the Operational Identification Unit of the Zakopane police station, as well as border security from Zakopane, Łysa Polana, Witowo, Jurgowo, Chochołów. The search was aided by the Tatra Voluntary Search Rescue. Above the Tatra Mountains, a helicopter containing thermal imaging was used to thoroughly search the area. Nothing was found. The police checked whether the girls in fact went to the train station in Zakopane. Unfortunately, we are not talking about times during which CCTV cameras were prominent. Therefore, there cannot be any discussion of checking these to verify the above point. The ticket booking system did in fact note that a sale of 2 tickets to Warsaw was made. However, during the height of the winter season, this could have been absolutely anyone. The police did not manage to identify who made the purchase of these 2 tickets. The police searched for witnesses which may have seen Ernestyna and Ania that day. Both girls were incredibly quiet, calm, collected, responsible and mature. They left all of their personal belongings at the residence. This included their passports and money. A runaway did not match the psychological profile of either of the girls. Poland was not a part of Schengen at the time, therefore a passport had to be used to cross the border. If they wished to stay in Poland, sooner than later, someone would have identified them. Due to these circumstances, a runaway was also ruled out. 2 unrelated witnesses came forward to the police claiming that they saw Ernestyna and Ania on a train from Zakopane to Warsaw on the 28th of January. Sadly, this could not be verified. It's unlikely that the girls decided to go to the Tatra Mountains due to the weather conditions and their previous promise not to go. This is supported by the fact that they both left behind all of their warm clothing and their thermos. For every adventure that they embarked on, they prepared themselves adequately. They were fully aware of the risks and the consequences that travelling unequipped may result in. In totality, it's hard to understand how both girls could have fallen victim to a tragic accident. If something was to have happened to one of them, the other would immediately try and find help. Thus, the police started to consider the possibility of third-party involvement. Kidnapping, rape and murder, or even a kidnapping to a brothel in Europe. In the 90s, these kinds of situations did take place. Women were lured to work in Western Europe. They allegedly left for work to look after elderly, sick, or cleaning jobs. When they arrived, their passports were taken away from them, and their dream workplace turned out to be a brothel. They were beaten, raped, and drugged. The rape was recorded, and they were threatened with the information that the tapes would reach the families. They were being convinced that they owe a debt, and they have to provide sexual work to clear it off. In 1993, a human trafficking gang was broken that worked from Slovakia. Due to this scenario was plausible. A witness came forward to the police claiming that he saw 2 young girls on the 26th of January 1993 in Krzeptówki entering a red vehicle that had foreign plates. He even managed to remember the numbers precisely: 27 KY 557. The police asked Interpol to help them find and identify the owner of the vehicle. It was found that there was not any vehicle registered on those plates. Did the witness actually see this incident? Did he make a mistake with the registration? Why did the car seem sketchy to him in the first place and he decided to memorize the plate? Did this incident really take place? Was this an accidental or deliberate attempt to overturn the investigation? The case was incredibly difficult. In 1993, an event took place that added even more mystery and worry into the disappearance. On the 4th of March, so 37 days after their disappearance, someone broke into the car that belonged to Anna's stepdad, which was parked outside their flat in Warsaw. The only thing taken was a briefcase containing Anna's passport and her diary. Car break-ins were nothing rare in the 90s. Mainly radios were stolen. Was this a random break-in because someone expected to find valuables or money in the briefcase, or was it planned and the perpetrator knew exactly what was in the briefcase? If the break-in was planned, what kind of diary entry were they scared of? Potentially something that may point in the direction of the perpetrator's identity? Why were these items kept in the vehicle in the first place? One of the investigators who led the investigation for years was the late Officer Stanisław Cecha. He was convinced that the girls were kidnapped, however, he had his own theory. He told his fellow colleagues that the case has a hidden agenda. He stated that allegedly one of the fathers of the girls was an officer of the Secret Service. He claimed that this had a relation to the disappearance of the teenagers. Another theory which was checked was that of Marc Dutroux, a Belgian serial killer and paedophile. During the time of the girls' disappearances, he was in Poland and Slovakia. No evidence was found that pointed in his direction. A hypothesis which the police was not able to rule out was the idea that the girls were lured into a cult. The height of cults was during the 90s. Would these two responsible, mature and intelligent girls fall into the trap and become persuaded into joining? It's difficult to say. This cannot be ruled out. Cults did manage to lure intelligent and sharp individuals that were unfortunately vulnerable to manipulation. Ernestyna's parents particularly were fond of this theory. A few years after her disappearance, they even decided to form a support organization for victims of cults under the name Ruch Obrony Rodziny i Jednostki, which translates to Movement for the Protection of the Families and Individuals. This was done to spread the message of the cult's methods of working and how to prevent being lured. This also offered support to the victims and families for whom it was already too late. They also went through the entirety of Poland and vast parts of Western Europe by themselves, actively searching for their daughter and her friend in brothels and cults. They left no stone unturned. Unfortunately, till this day, they still don't know what occurred to Ernestyna and Ania on the 26th of January 1993. In 1995, in the Chochołowska Valley, the body of a 22-year-old Katarzyna P. was found. She was brutally murdered by Paweł Hajduk, who is a serial rapist who impersonated a tour guide. He raped and fatally strangled Katarzyna in an abandoned shepherd's hut. This theory was carefully analysed. Hajduk was questioned and even conducted a polygraph examination. He passed. Due to this, he was ruled out from the investigation. The investigators took into consideration the theory of the Albanian-Serbian mafia which operated in the area. Their operations consisted mostly of drug trafficking and human trafficking at the time when Ernestyna and Ania disappeared. No leads were found. Investigators also tried to check all possible witnesses, even though there were only a few. There were also a couple of people who claimed that the girls were seen in Spain or San Marino. Even then, the witnesses said that they were similar looking, not identical. This also resulted in a big fat nothing. A witness came forward to the police who claimed that he overheard a conversation between two males. One of them allegedly had the nickname Igła. The other guy who was talking to Igła confided in him that he took part in a kidnapping of two girls in Zakopane, which were then taken abroad. The police was not able to verify this. Ernestyna's parents, who did everything in their power to try to find her, even reached the crime underworld. They were able to conclude that an offender was present at the Łódź prison who carried the nickname Igła. He was currently serving a sentence for robbery. Krystyna Wieruszewska received the prosecutor's permission to visit Igła in prison. Unfortunately, he did not convey any information of any significance to the investigation. He merely stated to look on graffiti present on lampposts in the city of Wrocław. Desperate for answers, the parents checked this. Nothing was found. All of the hiking trails were searched thoroughly. The police media spokesperson stated that from the 27th of January to the 13th of February, a vast amount of land was searched in an effort to find Ernestyna and Ania. The search in the Tatra Mountains consisted of searching the Morskie Oko district, the trail to Rysy Mountains, Pięć Stawów Valley district, areas of Hala Gąsienicowa, a large amount of Giewont. They searched in Mała Łąka Valley, Chochołowska Valley, as well as all the other trails in the Kościelisko Valley. Nearby caves were also searched, without a satisfactory result. Not even the tiniest trace was found after Ernestyna and Ania. No items of clothing or any personal belongings were found. Due to this, search teams ruled that the mountains do not hide the secret of what happened to Ernestyna and Ania. The police also stated that after a thorough search of these areas, they have ruled out the eventuality of a fatal accident. Ernestyna's parents never stopped searching for their daughter. They hired private investigators, they also searched for their daughter themselves. Out of desperation, they even reached out to clairvoyants. Their conclusions did not back up or align with one another. One of them claimed that one of the girls died as a result of a fatal accident in the Tatra Mountains, and the other died of shock due to witnessing their friend die. Another clairvoyant claimed that both of them are alive. One of them is in Zakopane, whilst the other is to the north of Warsaw. The most famous Polish clairvoyant, Krzysztof Jackowski, saw that, unlike they previously stated, they did in fact decide to go to the Tatra Mountains on the 26th of January. They were accompanied by 3 other males. He claimed these males pushed Ernestyna and Ania down a cliff. Jackowski stated that this area is extremely hard to get to and a very dangerous search. He also said that around 4 kilometers from Zakopane, there's a path which ends with a very steep cliff. According to his vision, this is the place where the murder happened. Searches in this area came with a very high risk of a fatal accident as well as an extortionate cost. Interestingly, the Polsat TV station was meant to cover the cost of this operation for their program called The Clairvoyant Project. Unfortunately, due to unknown circumstances, the TV station backed out. Zakopane is a place where no matter the weather or the time of year, plenty of visitors still choose. Foreigners or people unknown to the locals do not spark their interest, as it's always the case that there are more tourists than locals. It's extremely easy to stay anonymous and blend in with the crowd. In the first hours after the parents reported Ernestyna and Ania as missing, the police downplayed the case. In the first couple of days, not much work was done. This certainly did not help the search. The most crucial hours were wasted. Possible perpetrators had a lot of time to get rid of any evidence. The weather was also on their side, as the prevalent snow most likely covered any evidence. The police could not come forward with one leading hypothesis. They ruled out a runaway. The vast search for Ernestyna and Ania concluded that a fatal accident did not happen. In the possibility of a murder, no motive could be identified. The lead mentioned previously of the rejection and revenge afterwards on the part of the landlady's son was ruled out, due to a lack of evidence pointing in this direction, as well as his alibi. For the investigators, to this day, the most probable theory is that of a kidnapping. There isn't also any substantial evidence pointing in this direction either. The 26th of January 2025 will mark the 32nd anniversary since Ernestyna Wieruszewska and Anna Semczuk's disappearance. Time flies. The girls' friends have started their own families. Moreover, the kids of some of their friends are at the age now that the girls were in at the time of their disappearances. The landlady, Maria, has passed away. Ania's mother has also passed. Ernestyna's parents have never lost hope, and they still believe that they will live to see the day when the case will be solved. They still have to hope that Ernestyna and Ania are still alive. If this is the case, the women are 49 years of age. In 2022, the case was taken over by the X-Files, a special division of the Polish police that look into cold cases. Will we ever know the truth as to what happened to Ernestyna and Ania on the 26th of January 1993? Let's hope so. Many thanks for watching this episode. If you happen to have any kind of information, no matter how small, you can contact us on the email shown on the screen now. Till next time, goodbye.